Peace. Peace. What exactly is peace? I've always been led to believe that peace is the absence of conflict and war. But is this really what peace is? A world without conflict? I can't help but think that peace is a far more complex issue. Our philosophers, our religious leaders, politicians, our teachers, they've all been struggling with this concept of peace for eons. But maybe we've been missing some essential component, something that now our scientists might be able to explain. I'm here at the Self-Realization Fellowship in Los Angeles to meet with a monk, Brother Achalananda, a man who has been studying the concept of inner peace for a lot of years.
Here we go again.
Here we go again. Brother Achalananda, thank you so much for agreeing to meet with me today. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Please, have a seat, have a seat. I've been on this quest, so to speak, as mankind has always professed to want to achieve peace in a really sustained and lasting way, but we've never been able to really pull it off in any real fashion. We figured that it was a good idea to invite the field of science and scientific discovery to sort of weigh in, because science has really never been a part of the peace conversation except for creating weapons for war. And I wanted to come here and talk to you because I know that Paramahansa Yogananda was a great teacher, and he talked a lot about the relationship between science and religion, between science and spirituality, and I just wanted the opportunity to dialogue with you about how that relationship can be applied in our daily living.
I think to bring about peace, you have to come to a common understanding where people can connect together. Because peace does not come by governments passing laws, it does not come by people just talking about peace. It comes about people learning how to experience peace in their own lives, and therefore becoming peaceful, and they can then influence others. We cannot give somebody something we don't have. How can we give peace if we ourselves are not peaceful? How can we convince others to be peaceful if we ourselves are not peaceful?
Another point of convergence between science and spirituality is this idea of interconnectedness that is made possible by what science is calling field theory. Is there a universal field of consciousness that we all participate in? Can this field be influenced to create a more peaceful world? So the morphogenetic field, how does it work?
Well, it works on the basis of memory. And what I'm suggesting is that each species has a kind of collective memory. So each tree, each species of plant has a collective memory of form. So each individual follows the habitual patterns of that species when it grows. Each animal has a collective memory of behavior, which comes out as instincts that all the members of the species do.
The birds fly south for the winter.
That's right, and spiders spin webs of the right kind for their species without having to learn. Baby spiders just do it. It's an instinct. So it's an inherited memory.
That's information that's in the field that they're tapping into.
Yes. And these fields are over and above the genetic information that enables them to make the right proteins. Genes enable organisms to make the right chemicals, but the way they're organized depends on the field. So these are extremely deep-rooted divisions, deep-rooted habits. And these habits are so deep-rooted, they're not just going to go away. I mean, it's not realistic to think that all these habits of separation and conflict and memories that go with them, and the grievances and the resentments built up over many generations will just evaporate. They're not going to do that.
That's kind of grooved the field.
Those fields are deeply established. Yeah. So what hope is there? Well,
what hope is there? I mean, do we have an opportunity to sort of to change the field? Can we turn it around in any way?
I think that the only feasible approach that can work is that the old fields won't just go away. The only hope is having a larger field that includes both of them, so they're now part of something larger. The history of evolution does have elements of conflict in it, but it also has many, many examples of symbiosis, organisms that live together and help each other. And so the history of evolution is not just a history of conflict as it's often portrayed, nature red in tooth and claw. It's also a history of the evolution of cooperation.
Rupert Sheldrake, thank you.
We're all connected. We're all part of one giant thing. So that's a very different scientific story than the story we've been told. And the interesting thing about it is science really creates the stories we live by. You know, we create all of our structures in our lives according to science as though it's this ultimate truth and final truth. But the reality is that science is a story told in installments, and each new chapter oftentimes negates the chapter that was given to us before. What we've created in our lives that has resulted from that old story, we'll start replacing this, all of the structures we've created from separation and competition into a structure that promotes and glorifies cooperation.
Something that actually serves us better.
Yes,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
The real implications for world peace are enormous. Once people finally figure out there is no other.
There is no other. What we are now moving into is an understanding that my neighbor and I are one.
Absolutely. My neighbor is myself.
My neighbor is myself.
Yeah.
What's different now about the information that the scientific field is bringing to this moment, this conversation?
Up until now, our understanding of these concepts has been intuitive. You know, many spiritual masters and Eastern religions and native cultures have understood, they've all talked about a unified field or a unified life force. And they've talked about extended human potential and the idea that we can affect and change our reality. They've all understood that, but only intuitively. They've just had that information intuitively. Now, however, what scientists are doing is they're dissecting it. They're able to quantify it. They're able to prove it. And it is with this that Western mind is coming back, as the Eliot quote is, they're coming back to the original place, but understanding it for the first time.
But understanding it for the first time.